All right, Jonathan Balsamo, a.k.a. JB of Palaces, right out of here in Atlanta. What's happening?
What's up, man? How are you? Jody, thank you so much for having me, and I'm thrilled to be here. Been talking about doing this for a while, so stoked to finally make that happen.
Yeah, man, we're making it happen.
Yep.
Congrats on Sunhunting, man. It's going to be out the 27th of this month, February.
Yep. Long time coming, man. I recorded drums about 2 years, well, a little over 2 years ago. But the way the process went, it just took a little longer we would have liked. But I think the final product is worth the wait. So hopefully everybody digs it, and we're super excited, man. So can't wait to get it out there. We've released a video and then a single. But I think that's all we're going to put out until we're, a few days away now. So we're going to make everybody just wait for it to come out. But, yeah, man, it's been quite the ride to get to this point, to tell you the truth. So
Yeah, man. When it came time to first recording the record, was there much of a pre-production phase to where you at least had mapped out the songs, knew more or less what you were playing, and had a sense of where the BPMs and everything would be before going into the studio? Or
Sure. So this is our third album. Our first two were recorded by our guitar player, Eric. He has a home studio, and so he took on the dual role of guitar player, singer, writer, engineer, producer on the first two albums. And for this one, we felt like it would be good for him to, to kind of step away from that and focus on the guitar and the artistic part of it, and not so much the technical end. And he, after much discussion, we decided to, because of our budget, to go to West End Sound with Tom Tapley, who I'd recorded with before, and at least do the drums there.
Mhm.
So we did go to Eric's before that, and we pre-pro'd everything, like just did demos of everything at the BPMs we thought they would be. But the weird thing was, this is my first time ever recording to a click.
What?
Yeah, so I was reluctant. I've always been the kind of person that I like to push and pull and not be on that. Coming from a background of like my favorite stuff being, like gospel or Dillinger, or more chaotic vibe music, So I was really resistant to that, but they convinced me, like, look, for this one, because of the way the songs are, it would make recording this so much easier if you could do it to a click. So
Yes.
I cleared my mind and had to go through the mental process of, look, man, you're not going to fight this. You're going to learn to, because I tried it before, and my initial thing was to like fight it,
Right.
or feel like it was pulling me unnaturally instead of treating it as another instrument,
Mhm.
or what have you. And when you're really, in my experience, like when I felt like I was really on it, I didn't even hear it.
Correct.
Right, because you're playing so on top of it, it just goes away.
Correct.
And that was a weird kind of psychological trip the first time you hear that happen, and you're
Right.
playing, and you're like, wow, But if you go on above, ahead or behind it all of a sudden there's this thing going, and so.
Right.
But this time, man, yeah, for whatever reason, I think just because I had to do it and everybody was relying on me to do it,
Yeah.
it worked. And so we went into West End, and we spent 2 days there, maybe 2.5 days, to track everything drum wise, and had each song, like, the first one's 200, second one's 160, and so forth and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And I really dig natural drum sounds and the human element of that a lot of modern metal doesn't necessarily have anymore, because
True.
it's it's sound replaced and gridded out, and everything's
Big time.
which is cool if that's the vibe you're going for. I'm not knocking that at all. It's just like I don't use triggers. I come from that, like, Lombardo, Ben Kohler, hit hard, go fast, fuck, commit, and play it convincingly as you can,
Yeah.
and not have to worry about the bass drum hits being soft,
Mhm.
and so Tom's into that, and we, so we, as much as I'm pretty proud of how it came out, as far as it sounds organic, sounds like a human drummer on a organic, acoustic kit.
Absolutely.
Tried to have minimal edits, tried to play full takes as much as I could, and punching in is kind of a necessary evil here and there, but
Right.
yeah, man, I'm stoked on, like, I'm very proud of how the drums came out on this. They're not, to me, nothing's ever perfect, because I'm hyper self-critical, and I always think it could be done better, and I've listened to myself sometimes and go, but the older I get, the more I play, I trust you know, if somebody tells me that sounds good, I'm not going to fight them over it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I used to do that, and I realized it bummed people out when they come up to pay you a compliment, like, great show, and you're like, no, man, you know, I messed up this or I fucked up that. They don't want to hear that. You should just say thank you.
Most of them didn't notice it anyway.
Right. That's the thing. Like, I think, you know, drummers live in our own heads sometimes in that regard. So yeah, man. But to finish the question and not go off on a tangent. So our budget was just to do drums at West End, and then Eric was going to do guitars, bass, vocals at his house. And, you know, one of the guys that owns that studio heard about that plan. You know, Bill Kelliher, that plays in a band you might have heard.
Mastodon,
I
right?
might have heard of those guys.
Heard of those guys.
Yeah, they're you know, they're kind of a big deal. But he has a home studio that's outside of West End. It's smaller, but I mean, it's a nice studio. It's in his basement of his house, and he called me up and offered to help us finish the project with him as engineer, producer, whatever, because he's like, no, don't go to the house and do that. Come over, you know, come to my house and do it. So,
damn.
Yeah, man. So it was, if anybody knows me, and I've told this story so many times, but it's so mind boggling to me that, I mean, I have been a fan of that band from day one, super fan of that band. Like, I've loved, like their early stuff changed my life like that. You know, hearing Braun on those first 2, 3, 4 records, man, was just, and I love all their stuff, but I mean, like that early stuff is where it really grabbed me. And I was at their first show in Atlanta. So to one day eventually get to work with that dude, you know, and make something was a huge honor and a super fun process. And he doing it at his house made it more affordable, where we didn't have to pay the rate we would at a fully staffed studio. It did take longer that way because of his schedule.
Sure.
And we had to like maybe track for a few days, and then he'd go out on tour for however long. And when he got back, we'd do a couple more days. So that's why it took so long. But as frustrating as that might have been for us as artists, because we want to put our stuff out.
Yeah.
It was worth the wait, I think. Bill's an incredibly caring and awesome human, you know, and like he really had a lot of, I think, input that a guy that just pushes record and sits there.
Sure.
And, you know, which I've had that experience in the studio too. I'm sure you have, where somebody's just there to run the clock and record your crap, and they don't really care. You know, he really would. I think he had some very valuable input. He wrote a couple of things like intros for songs, or he'd have an idea for a harmony or something, you know. And so he worked with Steven and Eric on all that stuff, and I think really got the best out of those guys, you know, as a fifth member, kind of engineer type person.
Engineer, producer, the whole thing.
Yeah, so yeah, man, that was the dream of a lifetime for me, just to get to do that with one of my heroes, you know, or somebody that I've always admired as a musician and as a, you know, great person. So
totally super
fun.
Nice. Yep. When you tracked the drums, did you use your drums? Did you bring your drums in?
Yes. I love my drum set. So I don't know if you want me to talk about what I use, or can I? But yeah,
absolutely.
I'm a big fan of the Tama Star Classic BB series.
Yeah.
I've owned the WBs as well, and those sound great. I've recorded with those, but I really, something about the projection and the overall tone of that BB series kit, which they don't make anymore.
Is that Babinga?
Yeah, the Birch Babinga.
Gotcha.
Hybrid shell ones. They were like I think from like early 2000s up to like 2016, 17.
Okay.
Maybe when they got discontinued.
Wow.
And that's when they went to the walnut birch combination. But
yeah,
but I love the projection, the tone you get out of those drums. Like I got my first one of those kits. You can only get them used, and I always wanted one. Finally found one that I really liked the color, and pulled the trigger on getting it. It had to ship to me from Michigan, I think.
Really?
So I never ordered a drum kit like to ship to me. So I was so scared that like I was gonna get it one of the times and be smashed by UPS or whatever. But luckily it arrived intact. I got that about 4 years ago, and that's the main kit I play. And then I found a deal on a second one that's almost identical, a little bit different color. So I have two of them now, one at the practice space and one I take to shows. But yeah, so I used my drum set. We did use a combination of snares that Tom had down there. They're mostly bronze. He has a lot of Dunnets.
Okay, nice.
Like stainless steel, the titanium, the chrome over brass, and then he's got Tom actually had an acrolite that was given to. This is so crazy because Tom's worked in the music business for a while in Nashville and all over the place, and he's been involved in a lot of big projects. Tom Tapley, but somehow he was on a video shoot with Aerosmith or something, and one of the dudes in Aerosmith, after the video shoot was over, like, you want this drum? And gave it to Tom because they said they just brought it for the shoot. And it's like a 80s, Ludwig Acrovite aluminum shell.
Yeah, I got one right back there.
Yeah, I'd never played one before. We used that for
they
2 or
crack.
3 Yeah, man, I loved it.
Record like a motherfucker with those.
I've bought one since. But my main snare is the Black Magic Ludwig. It's like the one they put out a few years ago that has the die-cast hoops, and it's like a Black Beauty import, Black Beauty basically. But man, I love that drum. I ended up getting 2 of those, like one as a backup.
Damn.
So yeah, it's and then DW 9000s and DW hardware, Meinl.
Right.
I dig Meinl cymbals. So yeah, that's used my drum set to it. So what you hear on the album is actually my shells and all that good stuff.
Nice.
We talked about doing a blend of some, what do you call them? Like not samples, but some, like, kind of taking one of those plugins.
Yeah.
And it ended up we got a good sound just the way it is. So
acoustically,
we left it.
so you're just like, fuck it.
We left it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes there can be like a sort of thuddier sample. If the snare is a little bit like high and cracking and you want more body, you can sort of put one of those samples to sort of fatten it a little bit.
Yeah, it's like
There's
a thickening,
stuff like that.
to thicken it or make it more, what do you call it? Make the attack a little sharper. But we ended up not. I mean, dude, I was so stoked. Like Tom's really good at recording drums.
Great.
I mean, he's done so many huge projects, but he did Hushed and Grimmed, and I think the album before that.
Nice.
Like he's worked with Mastodon for a while.
Awesome.
So yeah, dude, guys, he's really good about studio psychology because I'm neurotic and will. Want to do take after take after take because I never, like I was saying earlier, man, it's hard for me to be satisfied and say that's good enough. But Tom's really good about, he's almost like a drummer's therapist when you're recording, and he kind of, I like working with him. He makes you feel very comfortable and not, very good ear, you know what I mean? So he can say, man, that was great, and you can trust him and move on. You know what I'm saying? Because I will go into the, the circular thing of like, let me do it again, and I don't know if anybody else experienced this as a drummer. I mean, like, if you do one song 4, 5, 6 times, you're getting a diminishing return.
Absolutely. I certainly think so.
Yeah, like it's not like you're necessarily playing it better each time. So, yeah, he was good about keeping me in check on all that stuff.
Yeah. In fact, quite the opposite. I feel like at least I can only speak for myself, but my first or second take, assuming that I'm rehearsed enough going into it and have a good enough sense of what I'm, trying to execute in the studio.
Sure, yeah.
My first and my second takes are always the best. And if I've really got to hit something a third time, then I'll try it. But as you said, I've definitely experienced it where then I'm in my head about it, and I'm not playing it better than I would have, no. Even if it was slightly flawed in my perspective. I think it was ultimately better with whatever seemingly flaw that was in it that probably not that many people are going to notice in the first place. Sure,
and I think at that point my strategy's always been to, like, let's try another track or just take a break for a little while, and and sometimes you have to do that. But in today's world, man, there's so much good music that comes out. And every day I hear some band and blown away at how good the drums are. And it's like, I do get curious, like, how that recording process goes on some of this stuff I listen to, because it is just, man, so much, I guess the point is, I'm super thankful if anybody digs what I'm doing, because I hear stuff every day that just makes me think, like, how I would, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's so much good music. It's hard to punch through all that and grab people's attention, because there is just like the overload of releases and the amount of stuff
massive,
that people get hit with, the fans get hit with, and it's like, where do they dedicate their attention to, but yeah, man, it's a good time to be alive if you like good music, because there's just shit tons of good music coming out all the time.
Yeah,
like we were talking about the new Converge a few minutes ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Love to see those guys still at it.
Yeah, and I think cat's out of the bag on this, so I can say, but Kurt Ballou recorded the new Mastodon album, which is forthcoming.
I've heard that, and the second I heard that, I was psyched, because it's something that I've talked about. I've I'd say I've got about 500 or 600, maybe 600 records upstairs, of which easily 2/3 of them are from like 68 to 76 or 78.
Sure.
But the one modern guy that I have, and unconsciously so, I just liked the record. I hadn't necessarily connected the dots until I started saying, I really like all these records. Who produced it? And then I was like, Jesus, I'd sort of unknowingly purchased like 10 records that he produced.
Yeah, dude, like some of my favorite records are all done by him. Like he's done, he's underrated as a producer. Like he's known for Converge and for guitar, but
man,
dude,
yeah.
And some I won't say who, but another Atlanta band has a record coming out by him.
Nice.
I'll tell you off camera. I don't know if they've announced that yet, but they recorded up at God City. So
nice.
But yeah, like there's an Oathbreaker album, the Generation of Vipers album.
Exactly. That most recent one. Yeah. Guilt Shrine was recorded with him.
Yeah. And I think, when Bill too, we turned Bill on to Generation of Vipers, and he became an instant fan. And
fuck yeah,
he was like, who recorded these guys? We were like, Kurt. He's like, oh, okay, cool, because I think they'd already booked Kurt. So
right, amazing.
Yeah.
Andrew Schneider, who I'm a big fan of, and who's mixed some of my stuff as well, did the one prior to that as well. So yeah, their shit sounds amazing. If anyone hasn't heard Generation of Vipers, check their fucking records out, and if you can, go see them live to
incredible
tonality
live
that band cranks out live, which is preposterous.
Yeah, it slams you in the chest.
So good.
It's so good.
It's so damn good.
I think Travis, their bassist, like he's so involved with getting the overall tone of that band,
big time.
Yeah, and the amps and the calves and just their whole signal chain is just
whoa.
Yeah, it'll knock you on your ass, dude. It's great.
Absolutely.
You're the one that introduced us to those guys, so
I know. I should, yeah.
I was gonna bring that up. Like, thank you, man, because like those guys are so cool, and we're gonna, I think in April or May, we're going out and doing some dates with them out of town. So
yeah,
we're looking forward to that. Great group of dudes, and their music is just impeccable. Like, I love watching their drummer play too, because
Billy's great. Yeah, BJ.
Yeah. I've always been fascinated, and I love like Abe Cunningham and those kind of drummers that are not, because I tend to play busy and fast and a lot of double bass and a bunch of bull crap, and I don't have the patience to develop like or like it's something I struggle with, because I typically want to just add a bunch of notes, that's my first instinct every time I hear a guitar riff, and it's like those guys that can really make something that's subtle in the pocket, but also technical to those who know watching them. It's like. And Billy is like an artist, man, like a painter when he's playing the drums. It's just like, dude, it's so well thought out, and it's like he puts a lot of consideration into the sequences and when he adds something or subtracts something, and it's amazing to watch that dude play. So
absolutely,
yeah, thank you for turning us on to those dudes.
I know Billy had hit me up and he was like, hey, we have a gig at the Earl. I was like, oh, it's amazing, man. He's like, if you think of anybody that'd be great on it. And I was like, well, we should definitely let's holler at Palaces.
Oh, well, thank you,
see
man.
What's going on.
Hell yeah.
So,
that was awesome. And then you got to play, and that was, dude, watching you do your thing was so incredible, because like I was telling you, I struggle with clicks, or I used to. I mean, I feel like I'm getting better at it, but watching you do your set,
it's all clicked out with video and everything.
Yeah, it's you playing to a lot of things that all have to be perfectly in sync, and that was sick, dude. Like, like wow, I was like, holy crap.
Thanks,
to me,
man.
that's like hella impressive, man. And you made it. I mean, it was like you couldn't hear any. It was perfect to me.
Yeah.
I mean, great job, man. Like,
thanks.
That's nuts that you compose all of that and do that. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's what happens. I mean, you got to do something with this fucking studio that we're in down here. I just feel like just such a lazy asshole if I don't come out down here and at least take advantage of the fact that I have it when I know most people don't.
Yeah, exactly.
I just feel like a prick otherwise.
Yeah, well, you put it to good use, man, because that stuff is. Proficient Prototypes is insane. If anybody hadn't seen that, go check out a video.
Right on,
it's
dude.
Nuts.
Yeah, man. When there's a break with putting out this one that y'all are about to do, by the time this comes out, it should have been out. But prior to that, how far back was the last record?
2013. Then we put one out in 2020, our second one.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Or
right before the pandemic or something. It was like right around in that time frame.
Gotcha.
And we couldn't play any shows to promote it. We couldn't. I mean, it just kind of went, under the radar. that was, our first 2 albums. We were a 3-piece band. With this one, we added a crazy guitar player that Steven.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Steve McLaughlin.
Yeah, Steven.
AKA Stevie Wonder Bread.
Yes, Steve has brought a lot to the band. I think we talked for years about getting a second guitar player, but
Nice.
But we also enjoyed being like the freedom you have as a 3-piece.
Sure.
I think guitar wise, but we finally decided to give it a shot, and luckily we met Steven. He had just moved to Atlanta from Utah, of all places.
Yep. He
didn't know anybody. He just showed up here and started going out to shows, and that's where we met him, is at a show that we played. And, he introduced himself, and he asked me if I wanted to come play some drums on a solo thing he was doing that was recorded at West End Sound as well.
Oh, cool.
And put out under his name. It's, Stephen McLaughlin Project, or it's out there. So we did that. And then he expressed some interest in coming and jamming with us, and we're like, yeah, we'll give it a shot. He showed up, dude, and knew like 3 songs, didn't have to show him anything. And
awesome.
So right from the rip, he was kind of like just dropped in the groove. And so
you get a third voice with it.
Yeah, third vocal on Sunhunting. It's a 9-song album.
Yep.
Each Jeremy, Eric, and Steven each wrote 3 songs, so it's a very good broad spectrum representation of like 3 different dudes in the band's ideas. But the way we write is mostly somebody will bring in a framework and ideas, and we'd still work together to. It's not like somebody comes in and says, here's a song, you have to play it like this. We have editorial control over the whole.
It's not a dictatorship.
And everybody is chill and works well together, thankfully, because sometimes you do get into a band with somebody that wants to have more control than the other members, and that's not comfortable.
Yeah.
Or, they can make it uncomfortable.
Totally.
If it's supposed to be a collaborative effort.
That's the idea, right?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think everybody's personalities come out in their own individual songs, and everybody will hear that when they listen to it, hopefully. 2
songs that I dug on the record towards the tail end: Gumby and Cane Break.
Cane Break's probably my favorite, just drum wise. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
Like the and yeah, Gumby is cool too. It has a lot of different textures to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Cane Break might be the most like fastest brutal song on the album, I guess, if you want to count like blast beats and double bass. But the weird thing, the one thing I guess I didn't mention earlier when you were saying about the tracking of it is because when you get held to a click, it can kind of change how you perceive changes or parts in the song where maybe what you were doing before when you weren't playing to a click. It's what I'm saying. It's a little
loosey goosey.
Or Bill taught us the term clams casino. That's what he called it, when the drums are not kind of So some of that stuff, man, just like when we were tracking, especially in Cane Breaks, a lot of those parts kind of came out totally different than I'd played them before, because the click was there and I could hear it a lot better, because when we did pre-pro at Eric's, his system, his headphone amp is not the loudest. So once I started playing, it was kind of, I really had to listen to hear the click.
Yeah.
But at West End, you really hear the click. So, I mean, like, it was wild, man. Some of that stuff, like, just came out, like, in the moment. You know what I mean? And that song had a few of those things where I surprised myself, like, just weird. Like, I never did it before, but, like certain fills or changes. But that's the one I'm probably the proudest of drum-wise on the album is Cane Break. Yeah.
Nice. There's a beer from Louisiana out of Parish Brewing Company called Cane Break, but they spell it all one word, Canebrake. Why the break, as in pressing a break, I don't know. But cane, it's the only commercial beer in the world that has Louisiana cane syrup in it.
Oh, cool.
So when I first saw that, I was like, wait, I need to check the spelling of it. I was like, is this an ode to the beer from Louisiana somehow?
You know what? That Eric wrote the song and wrote the lyrics, so maybe it is. I do not know. I'll have to we'd have to ask Eric that question. But but yeah, so but yeah, thank you for listening to it, man, and hopefully you dug it.
Definitely.
Yeah, I feel like it has a good, like, every song's a little different. There's not like, it's not like a death metal album where every song is blah, 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 blah,
Right.
We try to put some textures into it and that kind of thing. And then some, I will say Bill also sometimes would advise me, or Tom would say, hey man, maybe not make that part so busy.
Right.
And you have to let go of that ego and go, yeah, man, cool. I mean, you know, as a drummer, because drummers, I think, want to,
Exactly.
you know,
Shred.
we're invested in this part, man, and we came up with this cool fill, and it's like,
Yep.
we want to blaze this. Sometimes maybe that's not the best thing for the song, and maturing as a musician sometimes can. I think it gets easier to accept that kind of advice. I know when
Yeah.
I was a younger man, I would have been like, hell no, I'm gonna
Right.
whatever, you know.
Yeah. Are you the type of guy that through composes fills and everything, or just some fills that like you map it out and that's good to fill, or do you kind of just go in and the groove and the orchestrations are kind of what they are, and you're just going to sort of, you know, wing some fills and see what happens? I'm kind of a part of both worlds for that.
I think this album has forced me to get more into the thing where I know what I'm going to play, and I play it the same way every time.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if people are going to listen to this album, I want to be able to play the songs how they know them and not just, but historically, I love to, every song is a new opportunity to come up with a little bit better way of doing things. So everybody that I'm in bands with will tell you, I think sometimes I can get annoying with like trying new stuff. Like I know the parameters and I know, you know, but I will experiment a lot of times.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to get better about memorizing particular, you know, making everything like it is on the album.
Yeah.
But I love to try to improve, you know, continuous improvement, which may be not to the detriment of things. Maybe I do something and it doesn't work, but I love that. I like to just kind of zone out, and I've heard a lot of musicians describe it like you kind of almost trance out and just let things blow through you. You're not really like kind of observing it from the third person while you're doing it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So I like to try to like not think while I'm playing, and sometimes that's probably not the best thing to do, but like
I think it is. I think that's where you're supposed to be, is that you shouldn't be thinking about it.
yeah, you don't want to be like going, oh my god, you know,
Definitely
you want
not tweaking yourself out while you're playing.
or at least like not thinking in verbal terms, talking to yourself, you know, because I tend to, once I know a song, I feel like I view it as a structure, like, you know, like you walk in your house, you know where the bathroom is.
Exactly.
So you kind of get this like 3D map of like, here's this thing, and I know how to navigate it. And I don't consciously count parts. I know a lot of people don't, but like I'm not thinking like that. You know, I'm just like,
I think you're better off learning the melody or whatever it is and playing to that.
Like I love to play to loud guitar and the riff. You know, like that's always what's driven me, is like a fan of drums or metal and all that stuff. It's like the guitar riff and how the drums react and interplay with that. And I started off as a bass player, so I didn't play drums till later in life. Which
what age?
24 is when I got my first kit. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. So
that's super late. Like I started at 15 and I'm like, that's kind of late.
Yeah, that's why so I've always had this big like existential battle with myself, like that I'm really just a bassist that's trying to play drums. Like it's because when I first started playing drums, I got my first set because me and some friends wanted to do a project, and we looked for like a year. And at the time in Atlanta, a lot of people weren't wanting to do metal.
Yeah.
Or especially not more technical kinds of, you know, stuff like, you know, we were inspired at the time like Death and Cynic and Atheist and Obituary and all that kind of shit.
All that Florida shit.
Yeah, all that. And then, you know, a little bit of, well, we were listening to like Coroner and some of the European, more technical bands.
Yeah.
And the riffs were busy, and we couldn't find a drummer. People, I think at the time, were going through more of a, I don't know what was super popular then, but like in general, you know, a lot of guys were single bass drum playing and, you know, more grunge or rock kind of
so
backgrounds.
You're talking like,
yeah, like we had a couple of guys try out, and they didn't even have a double pedal or two bass drums. And so like double bass is kind of mandatory if you're trying to play that kind of music. So I just had, you know, kind of said, fuck it, man, I'm going to buy a drum set and start figuring this out, because I'd always air drummed to, you know, to everything I loved. And oddly enough, like by the time I got my first physical kit, it wasn't like I could almost like play some stuff, because I've been a bass player for 10 years. And, you know, I started playing when I was 14, I think. And I played till I was 24 and played in a few bands. And so rhythmically, you know, you have that background, you understand how drums work in the context of songs. So I was already like, you know, like kind of understood like the thing. So I started just got my first drum set at 24, and I tried to join as many bands as I could that would just let me come, even though I sucked or whatever. It's like I played with some hippie dudes and like more of a jam band thing. Played with some guys doing some like weird like post-punk proto noise rock thing, and then a death metal band and a bunch, so I was trying to just like, didn't have a girlfriend, didn't have a wife at the time, so I was like, every night I was at practice.
Yeah.
And just did that for a few years. And then, but my heart's always been in trying to play metal, but I enjoy playing all kinds of stuff. But that's my advice to anyone that's getting into drums is go play with a wide swath of music. Don't narrow yourself down to just playing one particular thing, because you know what I mean?
Right.
And take that advice for what it is. But I think that's what helped me get to the point where I could start playing gigs within the first like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And they might have not been good at all, but people didn't run me out of the room and say, get the fuck out. So, and I had a lot of opportunities, so I just kept going, man. And it's something that, the point of this was, so all my friends, when I bought this drum set, were like, you're a bass player. What are you doing? And they said that stuff to me so much and almost in a negative way, like, you're stupid. I still have that in the back of my head, is like, fuck you, man, I'm going to play drums. Right. So it's a battle within myself to prove to myself that I can play the drums. It's really, it's a war. It's a war within my head.
That's funny. The first time I saw Palaces was at the Star Bar, and I was pretty close to the side of the stage watching you, and I was like, man, this guy can fucking shred. So that's kind of funny that, one, you started later, and two, you seemed to be, I assumed when I first saw you, like from talking to many people who kind of can play some of the faster stuff, and I'm not saying you're like John Longstreth over here doing an origin set, but like you could play some pretty damn fast double bass, and your hands are quick. I assumed you came from a death metal background, and that is just what you did, because you seem to be pretty comfortable with like going kind of full octane, speed style sometimes.
I do like to try to go fast, and that's always been fun. I love, like the stuff I grew up listening to, there's a lot of thrash, a lot of death metal.
Totally. Yeah.
I was a late adopter to get into like any kind of black metal thing, but nowadays I'm digging some of that.
Yeah. At which point did you even start playing blast beats then?
Pretty early on, because like 2002 or 3. So I started playing in 98. I think it was 2002 or 3. We went to Lead Belly. I was with this band called Signs of Dying. We were, trying to play like, I would call it like Cryptopsy, Gorguts type, like super
full on,
like very fast, like, technical death metal stuff. So like I was trying to do them back then. I didn't do them properly, I don't think, until maybe 5 years ago, when I really got comfortable with that. Where you're doing
double, instead of single foot blasting,
right?
Yeah, playing like what feels like slow 16ths in the feet. That's kind of what fucks me up against what feels like triplets in your hands, like, or maybe I struggle to align them. I'm like, I wish my right foot was just fast enough to just do it single foot.
Sure.
But I can't really do that either. And then when I combine the much seemingly slower 16th notes in the feet over that, I also lead with my left foot. So the one is in my left foot.
Whenever you play a double bass part?
Yeah.
Wow, dude, that's a trip. I could not do that. I would be screwed if I had to do that.
Well, if it's broken up 16th notes, I lead with my right.
Right.
If I'm playing like a sustained,
right, sure,
I have to start with my left.
That's crazy.
Well,
natural. That feels natural to you. So
it does, but I should have forced myself probably to just be consistent with it. But unlike you, I played 20 years with a single bass pedal, and I already had weird, probably ergonomic issues with already the way that I was set up.
Right.
And then you have to be really balanced, which Ken Schalk taught me from Candiria. I took lessons
love that guy.
with him in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Thinking I bust his balls about it. I was like, I figured we were going to sit down and he was going to show me sick fills and grooves and this and that and the other.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, you got to reconsider the way that you're playing drums. And I'm like, really, man? That's what we're going to do here? But he was absolutely right. And he was like, you're not set up to play double bass.
Right.
And he's the guy that changed the way that I approached it.
Yeah. So, dude, like I discovered Candiria in like the late 90s, and criminally underrated band.
Crazy. His drum is unbelievable.
But yeah, dude, like I still listen to them, throughout the year a couple of times. Like I'll pull out 300% density or process of self-development or what, man. And dude, like yeah, so like I always was into the death metal and the fast stuff, and I wanted to play like that, but I also love like Don Caballero or Keel Hall or
Will
Candiria or the guys
Damon
that were
Che.
the guys that were doing heavy but mathy.
Right.
I love that, man. So like
Sure.
I've kind of tried to, and then I speaking of having a wide range of things stylistically you try to do to broaden what you can play. The weirdest situation I was put in probably was 2010. Like I had taken a couple of years off. Me and my wife had a couple of children, and they weren't in diapers anymore. They were starting to get where it was a little easier for one of us to handle, alone. So I was like itching to get back to being in a band.
Yeah.
And I told my wife, like, I'm gonna look for a band. She's like, cool, go look for a band. I think you should do that. She's great and supportive and has always, put up with me and being a musician. And I know that's not
crucial.
always it's not always easy for your partner when you're a fucking nut. So I looked back. This is back in the days when you could look in the Creative Loafing, like the Atlanta Weekly. It was like a free paper. And I don't think they're around anymore, but there was a musician's part in the back, classifieds, and found these dudes that were, or maybe I found them on Craigslist, but it was something like that. Where, looking for a drummer for a math rock band, and I'm like, what is math rock? Even though I guess I was listening to some stuff that was in that kind of thing, but I didn't know that's what it was called.
Right.
And so I went and go to the they sent me some tracks, and I'm like, holy shit! Like it's instrumental math rock stuff, but like. It's stupid, insane arrangements where sometimes a part will only be, there's this one part in the middle of the song, you never come back to it, or you come back to parts but in different combinations, but there's no vocal or what you would call a bridge or a chorus or anything to really. So, it was a hella challenge. They were very opposed to somebody that even having a double bass pedal or a China cymbal. So
those are both
the audition,
very metal things.
If you see this, Chad Shivers, a lot of people know that guy. He's an amazing Atlanta musician, plays in the Mystery Men, a lot of other surf rock and, crazy projects. But he was, one of the main guys in Sorry No Ferrari. That's the band we're talking about. And I go to the audition, and as I'm unpacking my stuff, I could just see the look on his face when that double pedal came
son
out.
Of a bitch has a double pedal. Then
and
you're like, check this
and
China
I think he
symbol
stared
out.
at it for a second, kind of scowling, and then he was like, what do you need that for? And I was like, don't worry, I know how to use it for fills and not just And then put the China symbol on the stand. He's like, no. He was like, no, veto. And I was like, no, just wait, man. I use it tastefully. And but yeah, funny. Man, that band changed my life and helped me grow a lot as a player. And went out on tour, or got to play out of town. I hadn't done that since before I got married, which was back in the early 2000s. But learning to play like that, and I'm still. Besides for Sunhunting, that's the other thing I'm probably the most proud of that I've ever recorded.
Nice.
Is that Sorry No Ferrari album. Cool. But yeah, dude, like math rock is a whole nother trip. It's not, it's a different thing. Yeah, but learning to count odd things and keep these structures in my brain. And nowadays I still try to sneak some of that mathiness into whatever I'm doing. And then the black metal thing, like learning that thing we were talking about earlier. Right. Dude, same thing. That felt so awkward to me for years. So I would blast or the classic, 1 foot,
exactly,
alternating. But I never could do that thing that people do now, and it does sound so good when somebody's really good at doing that.
It's super even.
Yeah, it has a heaviness to it because it's
right.
Like da-da-da-da-da-da. And I play in another Atlanta band, a metal band called Prime Mover, and they write more some of those blackened parts that. A few years ago, Josh Rogers is a bass player in that band. He's the principal songwriter, but he wrote a part that I was like, I have to learn to do that because that's what that part needs. It'll sound so cool. And I went home and Dark Funeral.
Oh God, that with like Nels the Dominator.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
I started
Christ.
making it a point to listen to that.
That shit is unbelievable.
Yeah, and I was like,
Unchain My Soul. The first song?
That's the song. That's the song.
It's fucking
and
ridiculous.
so I was listening to that, and I was like, that song, it rips so hard, and I was trying to air drum to it, and finally I kind of got the motion of that, and that's what did it, and then I was able to and now I love doing that kind of beat if it calls for it, but yeah, for years I was always like, how do those black metal drummers do that? Right. And then too, they hold those parts sometimes for fucking 4 or 5 minutes straight, just blah, 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 And I that's really not my bag for what the kind of music I play, but that's so impressive, man. And but yeah, so lately I've been digging some of that. But yeah, I mean, so much good stuff coming out. It's hard to even think of what to mention, to recommend to people to go check out. But hopefully our album gets a few listens here and there, and we're honored for anybody to check it out. So
absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Well, it's definitely well deserved. Like I said, I've been a fan of y'all since I first saw y'all, and I think the record really does deliver. And between, as mentioned earlier, the 3 vocals, all the riffs, I can tell y'all definitely put a lot of work into it, and I think it shows. And again, the production's there to match for it. So I'm excited for y'all, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I respect you hugely as a drummer and as a podcaster and all the amazing people you've interviewed, man. So thank you for what you do. And yeah, man, I'm excited to hopefully do a show with you again one day.
Absolutely.